What's up, everyone? Welcome to Instant Replay, a sports podcast where we analyze Wolverine sports and professional teams. I'm Andres Hernando.
I'm Carlos Garcia.
And I'm Matthew Cardoso, here to give you the latest news and stats for local and professional teams across the league. Now, starting off with Belen baseball, the first round of district playoffs against Terra is at the Raleigh Academy, where first pitch is at 2. Now, coming off their recent victory, the Wolverines had an amazing performance by their pitchers. Alejandro Torres started and would pitch 4.2 innings and was relieved by Alejandro Morales, who pitched 4.1 innings, struck out 7, and only allowed 1 hit. The Wolverines would come out on top 4-3. Now, coming into the district playoff game, Terra is a pretty good hitting team. They're 10-11, and an impressive Daniel Lavador is their hitting leader with a 480 batting average, and also leads the team with 2 home runs. Their pitching is pretty good, with Christian Saavedra with their lowest ERA at 2.03. Now for the Wolverines, we don't have anyone hitting over 400, but we do have a 300 team batting average. What we do have that Terra doesn't is that we can score runs, and that's what counts. Christian Iroa leads the Wolverines with 7 home runs and 25 RBIs, and Dorian Gonzalez is not far behind him with 5 home runs and 24 RBIs. The Wolverines pitching, on the other hand, stands out above all. Mario Fernandez leads the Wolverines with a 71 ERA and wins with 6. Alejandro Torres could be considered the Wolverines' ace, who leads the team in strikeouts with 82 and also has 5 wins to add to that. I really do think the Wolverines have this game in the bag. During the regular season, the Wolverines even beat Terra, and I believe the Wolverines have the better overall team, and we can score runs. The pitching, on the other hand, is amazing, and I really do think we can stand out above Terra and grab that Tuesday's win.
Belen Volleyball will face off against Freedom in the first round of the state championship this Friday. This team is so good and fun to watch. It's the first time in Belen history that the volleyball team wins regionals and moves on to states. They're ranked as the 5th best team in Florida, and I'm super happy for them, but when it comes to states, they have an extremely difficult road to the state championship this year. But behind players like Eric Diaz and Joseph Perez, they can go far and upset teams like Freedom in the first round if the whole team's on the same page. This team has a lot of good players like Joseph Perez, who was recently named South Region Player of the Week for the week of April 15th. During that span, he had 15 kills against Braddock in the district championship game and 8 kills against Palmetto in the regional finals. Only 2 people in the country get that award per week, which is really impressive. The Suarez brothers, Herman and Gabby, are all-Dade caliber players when they're playing their best. According to Max Sports, Herman was named best setter in the state. But yeah, if the team comes out the gate strong and plays to their best ability, Belen can upset teams like Freedom and return as volleyball state champions.
Moving on to track and field, junior Don Chaney won his 3rd high jump state championship, making him a 3-peat winner. The 4x800 meter team placed 6th, and the team was consisting of Aiden Villasuso, Sebastian Castillo, Mikey Sanchez, and Sebastian Raw. Individual winners included Sebastian Raw, who got 4th in the 1600 meter, Diego Gomez, who placed 10th in the 1600 meter, Javi Vento, who placed 3rd in the 3200 meter, and overall, the team placed 7th in the 3A division for the FHSSA State Championship. Good job, guys.
Moving on to professional sports, we have the NBA playoffs going on right now. Let's start off with the Golden State Warriors versus the Houston Rockets, who are currently tied at 2-2. Who do you guys have taking this series?
So this series is very controversial. There's been a lot of no calls, some calls that are very weird. I think that the Warriors are going to take it in 7 games. I think Houston's going to put up a fight behind James Harden and Chris Paul.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Carlos. I didn't even think the Rockets were going to get this far. I only thought they were going to grab 1 win, but they did grab 2. But I don't think they have a chance beating Golden State in 7. I think Golden State's going to grab the next 2 wins and just going to get it in 6.
I find this the most exciting series going on right now. The Rockets definitely made it interesting, winning the last 2 games at home. But KD, as of right now, is the best player on this planet. He's the best scoring threat offensively that this game has ever seen. He's a 6'7" small forward with a 7'6" wingspan who can shoot, he can defend the ball, and in the playoffs he's averaging 35 points per game, shooting 52% from the field and 43% from behind the arc. The Warriors with Kevin Durant right now are an unstoppable force, and I see them going all the way, so I'm taking the Warriors in 7 games. Let's go on now to the Trailblazers versus the Denver Nuggets, who are currently tied 2-2 and play tonight in Denver.
So this is another series that I think is going to go to 7 games. Damian Lillard, excellent performance versus the Thunder. He really put them away, made them go home. Nikola Jokic, on the other hand, for the Nuggets, playing like an MVP, has about 2 or 3 triple-doubles in the playoffs so far. I think the Nuggets are going to take it in 7 games.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think the Nuggets are going to take this series, and I really do think Damian Lillard has proved a lot during this playoff. By taking out the Thunder and beating Westbrook after all this controversy, I think Damian Lillard has really proved himself, but I do think the Nuggets are going to win this series in 7 games.
I agree and disagree. I think the Trailblazers are going to win, but I agree with what you said about Lillard. The Nuggets, they're a phenomenal team. Nikola Jokic is one of the best centers in this league right now with players like Joel Embiid. Jamal Murray and Paul Millsap are great players, but I honestly don't see them taking down the Blazers. The Trailblazers right now, their chemistry is on point. Damian Lillard, he's a man on a mission. Like every day, he keeps proving why he's a top 5 player top 5 point guard in this league. He doesn't get the deserve that he respects because we all know he plays for a small market team like the Portland Trailblazers. Nobody watches Portland Trailblazer games except for Portland Trailblazer fans. It's kind of in the same situation as Kemba Walker in the Charlotte Hornets. If he were to go to a big market team like Los Angeles, New York, Miami, who get a lot of nationally televised games, everyone would consider him a top 5 point guard without a doubt. And I think that right now in the playoffs, the way he's playing, he's proving himself to be one of the top players in this league. And with how C.J. McCollum, who just dropped 40 points the other day, is helping him out, I have the Trailblazers in 7, with Lillard going off with the game on the line. The next series is the Toronto Raptors versus the Philadelphia 76ers, which are currently tied 2-2 and play tonight in Toronto. Who do you guys have in this one?
I like to see the series as not 2 teams playing against each other, but 2 players. Kawhi Leonard versus Joel Embiid. This game really depends, and their win depends on how those 2 players play. I have the Raptors taking it in 6 games. I think they're going to steal 2 from the Sixers, and they're going to move on Kawhi Leonard's back.
I agree with you. I have Toronto winning, but I have them winning in 7 games because the 76ers, they easily have the best roster on paper in the East. Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, they're all all-star caliber players. Earlier in the season, they traded for Tobias Harris, creating a big 4 who is averaging 20 points per game, 7.8 rebounds per game, and 2.8 assists per game. They're a really good team, but Toronto, they have someone that the 76ers don't have, Kawhi Leonard. Just like Giannis, Kawhi can single-handedly carry a team. He's the best defensive player in the league, in my opinion. And as well as a team, Toronto, they have 3 counters that they could use for Joel Embiid to really shut down the 76ers offense. They have strength with Marc Gasol, length using Serge Ibaka, and they can run small ball and use speed with Pascal Siakam. But is it enough? That's the question. Because the Raptors are only averaging 20 points per game in the 4th quarter, which is last among playoff teams. But I honestly think that the Raptors are going to win in Game 7 because they have home court advantage. The last series going on right now in the playoffs is the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics are currently up 3-1. Who do you guys have taking this one?
The Celtics are down 3-1. Greek Freak, man. He's unstoppable. I've never seen anyone as dominant as a player in the NBA. I think the Bucks are going to take it in 5 games. I think they're going to win the next one. I think this is going to be Kyrie's last game as a Celtic.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, straight superstar. He's a one-of-a-kind player, unstoppable. The rest of the team, Chris Middleton, he was an all-star this season. But besides those 2 players, the rest of the team, honestly, is just solid. They have good chemistry, but the rest of the team is just solid. While the Celtics, playoff Celtics, are a completely different team from regular season Celtics. All the normal average players always show out during the playoffs, but right now that they're down 3-1 and Kyrie's in a shooting slump, it's not looking good going back to Milwaukee for Game 5, so I'm taking the Bucks in 5.
Now, what I have to say about this series is I think the Celtics really underlived the hype. I really do think last season during the playoff series, they really had a chance to go to the NBA Finals, and I think they choked, honestly. I think they did have a chance to beat the Cavaliers, but they did not have Kyrie or Gordon Hayward, so everyone thought that next year, going into the playoffs in the regular season, that the Celtics would completely dominate the league with Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, but Gordon Hayward did not live up to the hype, and he doesn't have chemistry with that team. And coming into the playoffs, they just don't look that great. And you also have Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, dominating all these teams, and he's literally just carrying the Bucks, and the Celtics are not playing, to what they're supposed to be playing. They're not playing to their standards. So I really do believe the Bucks will be taking this, and I think they're going to win and take it in 5.
Moving on now to the NFL Draft. The Miami Dolphins, Christian Wilkins, first round pick, 13 overall. I think that was a really solid pick by the Dolphins. The front office, really solid draft. Improvements at linebacker, D-line, offensive line. I think the Dolphins are really going to improve from last year's record. So, what do you guys think? What pick surprised you the most, and what team do you think had the overall best?
One pick that I find really surprising was the New York Giants with the fourth overall pick in the draft. They decided to select the fourth-rated team
Quarterback in the draft.
Fourth quarterback in the draft, Daniel Jones. He was predicted to go in the third round. I've also heard rumors about the Giants apparently willing to sit Jones for 3 years, depending on how Eli Manning plays. It's a huge gamble, but hopefully it pays off for Giants fans.
Yeah, I think I have Giants as one of my losers in this draft just because Daniel Jones going lottery in the first round. I mean, everybody says that the Giants, they picked him because he fit their scheme, but I don't see what's going on with this pick, especially if they're going to sit them for 3 years behind Eli Manning. Eli Manning's getting old. He should be getting out there in the field, getting experience. Also, the loss of Odell, that shocked the football community. Why would anyone give up this all-star caliber player for 3 or 4 draft picks who, in my opinion, don't really go up to par to what Odell brings to the table? Also, another loser that I have in the draft is the Raiders. Although they did pick up some good picks in Clelin Ferrell at number 4 overall, that was a little bit of a stretch. Josh Jacobs, running back from Alabama, very good, solid first down back. And Hunter Renfrow, Clemson wide receiver, very good. The Khalil Mack trade, they still cannot make up from that. They are still in debt, in a slump, and they're still trying to pull themselves out of that hole. The acquisition of Antonio Brown, I think that was very good, but I don't see them going far this season.
Yeah, I agree, but if there's any picks that surprised me the most and what team I think had the best draft, it has to be the Redskins. When they picked Dwayne Haskins with the 15th pick, he will be their long-term guy, and he could end up as the best quarterback in this draft. The Redskins did a nice job being patient to land Haskins, as well as trading back in the first round to take pass rusher Montez Sweat. If his health isn't an issue, he could be a steal.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think the Redskins had the best draft out of anyone in the NFL this year. They picked the best, in my opinion, the best quarterback in this draft in Dwayne Haskins, and he's going to be their guy for years to come.
So now let's talk about the Miami Marlins. Let's just say they're not doing that great this year. Let's talk about their strengths first. Now, the Marlins, talking about their strengths, they don't have many. If we have to go for it, it's going to be Caleb Smith for me, and that's going to be the only thing. Caleb Smith is actually pitching very well for the Marlins. He only has a 2-year ERA, and that's really good in the major leagues. This can definitely be considered a top 10 starting pitcher this season. Caleb Smith is putting up close to all-star numbers, and he is 3-0 with 38 innings pitched and 48 strikeouts. He's definitely proved that he's a threat on the mound, and I do think Caleb Smith could lead to a new beginning as the Marlins have had major league struggles over the years with their starting pitchers and especially their bullpen. Their bullpen throughout the years has been horrific. Even when we had the Jose Reyes era, when we tried to have a stacked team, we had this whole starting line of players who could really hit and could really play baseball, but when it came down to throwing the ball into the catcher's mitt, we couldn't do it. Yeah. And especially going into the bullpen when we had to call our relief pitchers to complete games, there was no one who could complete the job. Every time we had a call to the bullpen for our pitchers to come in and save games, it would just be blown saves all over the place. And especially when we had Christian Yelich, D. Gordon, all those players who are not on the team anymore, we still didn't have pitchers. And I feel like, where the owners are looking, they're looking in the wrong place. I think a team, to be good, really needs to be balanced on both ends of the field. They have to be balanced between pitching and hitting. You can't just only focus on driving in runs, because if you're only driving in runs, you're letting the other team drive in runs as well. And you're not going to be driving runs every single night. Not every player is going to go 4 for 4. Not even every player is going to get a hit every night, because it just doesn't happen. Every player goes through their slumps and their streaks. So that's my opinion.
I agree 100%.
Mm-hmm. Now, their weaknesses, the lack of hitting the baseball. That's literally completely it. I mean, also their pitching. Their pitching has been horrific, but the lack of hitting the baseball, if you can't hit the baseball, you're not going to score and you're not going to win, because no matter how good your pitching is too, if you only focus on your pitching and your relief pitchers, you can't hit the baseball, you're not going to score runs, you're not going to win games. So there's not a single player with a batting average or a batting average close to 300. The average batting average for the Marlins right now is 220, which is horrific. We are 14th in the National League, so that just goes to show. The pitching isn't far off from our starting pitchers. Our starting pitchers are allowing runs every inning, and it seems like our relief pitchers are just blowing saves all over the place, still like we were doing couple years ago. I don't think the Marlins have a set plan for the years or for the years prior to right now. After the last offseason and the season before that, when we traded most of our lineup, Jeter wanted to go into a rebuilding phase. And the moment he got here, he traded everyone. I really don't see the Marlins in a rebuilding phase right now. I mean, I don't see us with young prospects. The only really one I see is Brian Anderson, and he's really not living up to the hype either. Usually rebuilding teams tank for draft picks and have low salaries, players with low salaries. But the Marlins are doing both of these, but I don't think this is Jeter's plan. Jeter has openly expressed his dissatisfaction with the team's play. So if you're trying to rebuild, you really shouldn't care how good or bad your team's playing, because if you're trying to rebuild, you know your team's going to be bad. But he's openly expressed that he's very dissatisfied with the Marlins' play recently. The Marlins are currently the worst team in baseball by record and stats, where we only have 9 wins. I mean, that is horrific. Let's hit double digits first, please. Usually, teams in rebuilding look for young stars who are still on rookie contracts or very cheap contracts. I understand trading Stanton because as good as he is, baseball teams cannot revolve around only one player, and that is a fact. No team can revolve around only one player. If you had the best pitcher in the world, you cannot revolve only around one best pitcher, because even for starting pitchers, he's only going to pitch one every 5 games because there are 5 starting pitchers on a team. We also traded Christian Yelich and D. Gordon. D. Gordon, he's been putting up great numbers on the Mariners right now. And for Christian Yelich, I mean, this guy won NL MVP the moment he left the Marlins. Even Derek Jeter, he wouldn't even play every night, but he's still putting up decent numbers this year with the Reds. These players weren't even on big contracts, and I really wouldn't have traded them. Now the Marlins ended up being the worst team in baseball by getting rid of them. So basically what we did is we got all of our best players, traded them all away for cap space, and we didn't do anything with that cap space. And I really do think that D. Gordon and Christian Yelich could have been people to stay, and they would have been prospects that would have been on, because they're very young and they could really help this team, or would have helped this team at least.
Yeah.
The Marlins have starting pitchers who can't keep the scores low and relief pitchers who can't finish games. The Marlins don't have a lineup who can't hit either, so when the Marlins do hit, we end up stranding runners on base and not scoring. And even when we do score, the pitchers are allowing runs every single inning, so it's not like we're completing games and getting wins. This is why we only have 9 wins, because we can't score while the other team keeps scoring.
So, moving on, we're going to see, who do you guys think top teams in the MLB right now? I think the LA Dodgers. The Dodgers have really kicked off the season with a bang. They look like the best team in baseball at the moment and the most promise for the future. Cody Bellinger leading the charge, looking like the best hitter in baseball right now with an impressive .403 batting average. This is a guy who was, some could say he was in a slump last year. Bellinger has been leading the charge while the starting pitchers have been putting on decent numbers, except for Clayton Kershaw, who has been an exceptional pitcher. While the bullpen hasn't been great, it's been good enough to close out these games.
I think the Rays have really surprised many people this year. And, obviously you're going to surprise people when you go from not making the playoffs at all to being a huge contender. I mean, they have amazing pitching, and they're hitting very well. The Rays have been hitting the baseball, and their whole lineup and their pitching has been exceptional and could even be considered the best in the league. I mean, Blake Snell is looking like the best pitcher in the league so far, and he leads the race towards the Cy Young.
The Cubs had a slow start to the season, but picked it up, and they're starting to look like the World Series Cubs once again. The Cubs have been really swinging the bats recently. Javier Baez leads the Cubs with a .315 batting average and has help from Wilson Contreras with his .450 on-base percentage. The Cubs' pitching has been pretty good, but John Lester looking really impressive with a 1.73 ERA.
That's all for today's episode. Make sure to tune in next time, and from all of us, have a good day.